here's Dave O'Sullivan.
I know Mike McGarry knows this one. Christmas in Hollis back in the mid-'90s, early '90s, something like that?
I guess so. We'll bring him on and we'll find out. Actually, you know what I should have done? This is my fault, too. I played the Bruce Springsteen Christmas song last hour,
yeah,
and I didn't play it for him. Mike, I'm really sorry.
Well, that's all right. You can never go along with a little Run DMC.
There we go.
The King of Rock, Christmas in Hollis. I mean,
yes.
I was there during those days.
Oh, yeah.
All right, very nice.
Late 80s, early King of Rock, early 90s.
I guess that was the 80s,
80s,
right?
So.
Christmas in Hollis?
Yeah,
I think so,
late
right?
80s,
Wow.
early 90s.
That's a long time ago now, Mike.
It was a long time ago. You know.
Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City joining us as we kick off our second hour of the South Jersey Sports Report. Mike, I don't know if you were listening at all the first hour. We had a real cool round table with Uriah McLean and Deshaun Hendricks about this whole Buena wrestling situation. I don't want to spend too much time on it with you. I want to get to some basketball, but just wanted to get a couple of your thoughts as a veteran high school sports reporter in South Jersey about this whole situation with the Buena wrestling team and how everything went down.
Yeah, well, my initial reaction, and look, I haven't covered a lot of wrestling in my 25-something years at the Press of Atlantic City. I really haven't done a lot of wrestling, but here's my thought on it. No high school student, boy or girls, high school athlete should be put in a situation where they are faced with a decision of having to cut their hair or lose a match, or which could possibly impact their team or something like that. So to put a high school athlete in that situation before a packed gym and say, look, you've got a minute to decide whether to cut your hair or you're going to lose is just blatantly absurd. And I understand that wrestling, from what I understand, wrestling has rules about headgear and fitting over hair and stuff like that. But, I just have two questions when it comes to that is, this year they have girl wrestling throughout the state of New Jersey. I assume girls have long hair. How are they handling this situation without incident? And number two, is this something that can be handled before the match? Or maybe if the referee saw that the athlete's hair was getting a little long, mention to the coach, say, hey, you might have an issue with that down the road. You might want to look at that or something.
Right.
But to put a high school athlete in a situation in a gym and say, well, you've got a minute to sort of cut your hair or you're going to lose or forfeit a match is ridiculous. It puts everybody in a bad situation, the athlete, the team, the coaches, and then it makes it easy for people to go back and second guess, what happened.
That was one of my thoughts, Mike. Was this is a match in December, a dual meet in December? Why couldn't the ref just said to this kid, "Hey, this might be an issue down the road.
Exactly.
It's not going to affect you in this match, but you might want to
Right.
think about making a change or getting a different headgear that will work properly with the hairstyle you have." I mean, that it seems like that would have been such an easy thing to do.
Exactly. I mean, that's the common sense thing to do, but to turn around and say to any high school 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kid to say, hey, you've got to cut off your hair or a lot of your hair or get an impromptu haircut, and you've got to decide in the next 30 seconds what you're going to do or you're going to forfeit a match is just not smart and not the way the situation should have been handled at all.
Talking with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. Mike, let's turn our attention now to some high school basketball and really a kind of an eye-opening win for Wildwood Catholic on Thursday night against Pleasantville. Pleasantville really an up-and-coming program. They play a crazy, hectic style. They get up and down the floor. They score a lot of points. And really there wasn't a problem for Wildwood Catholic. They beat them 90-68, I believe. So we're kind of seeing already, and it's only been a week and a half, we're seeing the upper echelon of the Cape Atlantic League.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big early season game down in Wildwood Catholic, and I think I wrote my story that, the high school basketball season is less than a week old, but it felt like a playoff game inside the Wildwood Catholic gym, and the final score does not really indicate just how close the game was played or how well the game was played. First of all, entertaining game. I mean, Taj Feet had about 4 or 5 dunks. Jacob Vallis threw down a couple for Pleasantville, Samir Jones and Jalen Freeman, the Pleasantville guards, played great. Jaleel White and Fleet showed why they're Division I prospects. White had 30, Fleet had 29. But Wildwood Catholic actually trailed Pleasantville by 5 early in the third quarter. They sort of grinded their way to the lead towards the end of the third quarter, and in the fourth quarter, they just hit Pleasantville with a run right at the fourth quarter, kind of like throwing a right hand at Pleasantville, and they staggered Pleasantville, and Pleasantville couldn't come back from it. And Jacob Hopping played great in the second half for Wildwood Catholic. In the first half, he had 2 points. He finished the game with 18, so he had 16 in the second half, including a big three-pointer and a big tip-in during that fourth quarter run. And Wildwood Catholic is going to be very tough to beat if they get great games from Feet and White, and then they get a third guy to sort of come up big for them. They're going to be tough to beat. And on Thursday night, that third guy was Hopping.
Yeah, I think this Hopping kid has been a little bit underrated throughout his career. I know he started out at Holy Spirit, and you could see early on in his career, okay, he can hit the three. He's a nice little player. But I really didn't expect him to blossom into what he's become today as a guy who can get rebounds, score in transition, do a lot of different things, and not just be a three-point threat. I mean, he's really come a long way in terms of his development.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head right there. I mean, we think of him as sometimes a guy who is just a perimeter shooter, a three-point threat, but he does it all, especially play defense. I mean, he played some good defense in the second half of that game, and he's a tremendous athlete. I mean, on the tip-in in the early fourth quarter, he was up around the rim, and I was joking with him afterwards. I didn't know he could get up that high, but he, he was up around the rim when he tipped that ball in. So again, if Wildwood Catholic gets what they, consistently excellent performances from Feet and White, and then they get a third guy in the mix there, they're going to be very tough to beat, and they're going to have to get that third guy because their schedule is tough. I mean, they play Marist today down at the Boardwalk Basketball Classic in Wildwood. Marist in North Jersey, non-public beat Power. They've got Camden, I believe, Thursday night down there. And we have Wildwood Catholic number 3 in our Elite 11 and Camden number 2. So, Wildwood Catholic just about every night is playing a great team. And they played well Thursday night. And so far, a week and a half into the season, they were supposed to be the best team in the Cape Atlantic League, and they've given no reason to think otherwise.
Talk with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. And Mike, one of the big stories early in the season here in basketball and girls basketball is Mainland off to a 4-0 start. And Kylie Watson, I did a cover story on our latest online edition. It's up there at glorydaysonline.com about kind of like a halfway point in her career story and how much she's developed. And when you see her play this year, it's really interesting to see what she's developing into and how she's adapted her game to the lineup they have now. It's basically her and 4 guards, and she's doing a lot different things than we saw the first 2 years when she scored. She got her 1,000th point in the first game of this year. But what a talented kid, and even Coach Baruffi from Ocean City last night said, hey, you just have to sit back and enjoy watching this girl's career. He doesn't like seeing it on the other side as an opposing coach, but he's enough of a basketball junkie to realize that this is a special player whose career is going to be something like we might not see again for 15 or 20 years.
Yeah, what you're seeing, I think, from Kylie right now, you're seeing the natural jump from a freshman, sophomore to a junior, senior. She's made that jump where she's just gotten older, she's gotten better, she's gotten physically bigger, older. So you're just seeing that sort of happen right there. And, a couple things that sort of strike me in seeing a couple games that she's played. She plays on the inside a lot this year because of her height, but she sees the floor well. I mean, she made a couple passes last night again in that win over Ocean City, just whipping the ball out to guards on the perimeter. Yep. Just finding people in transition. So I think she's more aggressive this season. And, I think, Mainland, they're off to an excellent start. They'll be at the Southern Regional Score to Short tournament over Christmas against the Goodfield. But what really impresses me about her is a couple things. Is her ability to find open shooters on the perimeter. And then what I also like is what she's doing is she's grabbing a rebound, and she's not giving it to one of those guards. She's taking the ball up the floor.
Yeah.
And, she can see the whole floor, and she can either get to the rim or find somebody for an open layup. I think she made a great pass at the end of the third quarter last night where she grabbed the rebound, started to dribble up the court and found a teammate wide open for a layup. I mean, that's a sort of play that's almost impossible to defend. Kylie Watson ripping down a rebound and heading up court with a full head of steam and either getting to the rim or finding a teammate in transition. That's probably Mainland's best play the rest of the season.
Imagine being an opposing coach and you tell one of your players, guess what? Tonight you're guarding Kylie Watson, and you have to deny her the ball on the post, guard her in transition, not let her get offensive rebounds. So have fun with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a full thing, and I think that's kind of where she's at her best, and that's where you sort of see. You see the colleges recruiting her. You see Notre Dame recruiting her. You see all these schools recruiting her. And you look at her ability to pass the ball and find open shooters on the perimeter, and you think about that ability on a team filled with 4 other Kylie Watsons on the team, basically, which is what Notre Dame would be. And you
right.
see why all these top colleges are kind of visiting Linwood and wanting to recruit her.
Talking with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. And, Mike, we're going to start getting into conference play in the first week of January. We've had a couple games so far, divisional play, that kind of thing. And when you look at the boys' side of the Cape Atlantic League, it used to always be the Cal American with St. Augustine Prep and Atlantic City. Those were kind of the 2 heavyweights. But when you look at that United division, that's going to be a dogfight the entire season when you talk about Wildwood Catholic, Pleasantville, St. Joe. I mean, I'm not sure. Lower Cape May, I guess, is in there too, and that's going to be a really fun division to watch.
Yeah, it's Wildwood Catholic, St. Joe, and Pleasantville. Middle Township, Buena, and Cape May Tech in that division, and that's going to be a very balanced, tough division filled with great games. I mean, Pleasantville, Wildwood Catholic, we're already talking about their rematch. I think it's January 21st in Pleasantville. So, Pleasantville's got to play St. Joe twice with Marcellus Ross and Urbanus, the kid from Lithuania. And, of course, St. Joe off to a tremendous start this season with big wins over Atlantic City and Ewing. So those 3 teams in that division, plus don't sleep on Middle Township there. And Cape May Tech has Josh Wright, who's closing in on 2,000 career points. And Buna's kind of a rebuilding program, but they're right there. So, like you said, that division used to be the afterthought, but now it's probably one of the top divisions in South Jersey. And
I mean, they might get 3 teams in the Cal tournament, which is an oddity for that.
3 in.
Yeah.
Normally that division, you pencil that division in for 2, but I would think they would get 3 teams in that division. Basically, the Cal tournament, you have the top 2 finishers in each of the 3 divisions get in, and then 2 wild cards. And you would have to say right now that. The United Division would definitely get 1 wild card. And that's what I love about the Cape Atlantic League tournament, because you look at a game early, game played in the first week of the season. You have Egg Harbor Township getting a big overtime win over Atlantic City, 72-70. Sophomore Raheem Muhammad hits the step-back 3 at the overtime buzzer to give EHT the win. And you say to yourself, okay, it's just an early season conference, division loss. But that's a game that when you look at who's going to get into the Cape Atlantic League tournament, you're going to look at that game played 4 or 5 days into the season. So that's why I love the Cape Atlantic League tournament, because every game matters.
Mike, there could legitimately be 4, 5, 6 teams going for those last 2 spots in the Cal tournament field. I mean, it's going to come down to I don't know how they're going to select the wild cards, but it might take a few hours to kind of decide that, whoever the committee is.
Well, I think one of the reasons you've got that is I think you've got that middle division, which is Holy Spirit, Ocean City, Cedar Creek, Lower Cape May, Oakcrest,
Mainland,
Absegami, Mainland. I think that division is balanced, and although I liked what I've seen out of Holy Spirit so far this season, I saw them play at the at the Ocean City PBA tip-off weekend. When they're hitting the 3-pointer, they can be tough to beat. But I think you've got 4 or 5 teams on that division that are all kind of the same and, can beat each other on any given night. So I think, you're going to have to maybe unwind that division a little bit to see what happens there. I mean, Lower Cape May off to a good start with Martine Angula, hitting threes all over the place. A sophomore down there at Lower Cape May off to a great start this season. So, like you said, there's a lot of good teams in the Cape Atlantic League, a lot of parity. And, so far it's been entertaining, and I only expect it to get even better as the season progresses.
Man, it's going to be a great January and February on the basketball courts, Mike.
Well, I mean, and that's when the league games actually matter, and the league games matter for who's not only going to finish first in the division, but who's going to finish second and who's going to get the wild card. That's why I love the tournament, because it adds, meaning to every regular season game that's played, basically.
Mike, before we let you go, yes or no, is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes.
Yes. All right. We'll mark you down as a yes on that one, buddy. Appreciate it, man.
Put
Enjoy.
me down as a definitive yes.
We will, man. Appreciate it, Mike. Enjoy the holidays, man. Great having you.
All right, you two guys, everybody out there, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays, and we'll see you at the holiday basketball tournaments next week.
You got it. Thanks, Mike.